So I'm going to take a little bit of a step back. We've seen lots of really amazing viewers and user experiences and tools, but there hasn't been a lot of talk about how you actually go about creating this data. This is, I think, a challenge for everybody, and everybody's going to go about it differently. But for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to give you sort of a whirlwind tour of an application we're developing at Princeton to sort of facilitate our digitization workflow, some basic quality control work, and then ultimately publishing that work as IIIF manifests. I should say I'm Jon Stroop from Princeton University Library, where I manage the application development team, and this is really the work of my team, as well as many other developers who are part of the Hydra project in that space. So our application is called PLUM, but we haven't branded it locally yet, so don't worry about that too much. But in PLUM, right now you can create three basic types of object: a scanned resource, a multi-volume work, which is a group of those, and then a collection, which is a group of either of those first two. Scanned resources are really where the work happens. So that's what we're going to focus on today, and for our purposes today, a scanned resource is a book. Okay, we have a map workflow also under development and more things in mind, but what we're looking to go live with this summer is this initial sort of three-part workflow. To sort of keep myself on time here, I'm going to narrate a cast as we sort of tour this application. So we're going to start, not surprisingly, by adding a new scanned resource, which is going to bring us to a screen where generally a technician could start entering some basic metadata. Okay, typically when a project is planned for us, they would know the ID of an object in our local integrated library system. If they didn't, they could also add a preliminary title while they wait for cataloging of that object, and always find it back and update this later. In fact, everything on this screen could be updated later, but often it's the case that we know sort of baseline information at the time of digitization. Keep going through this create screen. We can add this object to one or more collections. This is our development server, so we just have these two little test collections in here for now, but that's fine. You can choose the type of PDF you want generated as part of this ingest workflow. So we default to a grayscale PDF. Some curators say no way, no PDF. Others say color, that's fine, let them have it. We default to gray. Similarly, you can set some access controls. Right now we have 3 tiers at Princeton, which is open to the world, open to campus, and private, effectively dark. Pretty straightforward there. That's most of what we do is rare books and manuscripts, so that's not been a huge case for us yet, but it'll be coming, I think, as this stuff comes out. You can set a write statement from writestatements.org for those of you who know what that is. This is a subset that it sort of applies to our jurisdiction, but again, because we mostly work on rare books and manuscripts, we default to no known copyright, and you can change that as necessary, as well as add a rights note. Finally, you choose a library from our local physical locations, and that just helps with some basic boilerplate that goes with downloads and shows up on various screens throughout the UI. So we created the resource by clicking create, and you'll see we've imported some metadata from our catalog. We don't have any images yet, and that's the space where the gray box is, and we'll get there in a minute. But all this metadata has now come over from our catalog along with these different bits of information we added. You see the library address there, the collection this belongs to, and so on. But now we actually need to attach some files to this thing, right? This is IIIF after all. So this button allows us to navigate a staging server in our imaging studios. And I've sort of picked an object I want to demonstrate here. So I'm going to select that directory, and all the TIFF images in that directory are going to be queued for upload. So you'll see this list has now appeared, and all of these images are on the queue for ingest into our Fedora repository. And click refresh a couple times here, and you'll see these thumbnails start to come in. And this is key to sort of understanding the scope of this. Okay, this takes a while. As these files come in, a JPEG 2000 is created and put on our image server. The images are checksummed, technical metadata is extracted and indexed. I just hit refresh again, you'll see a few more here. But the general idea is that a technician would start this work, leave a note, and it would be handed off to a cataloger at this point. If they ever did want to come back and check their progress, at this point there is a persistent URL here, and that metadata is indexed so they can find it back. However, thanks to the magic of screencasting, now all the images are here, and an hour passed. So I'm going to go back to that initial show view, and you'll see now the universal viewer, which Tom just demonstrated, has loaded up. And we've got sort of what we call the minimum viable product here, okay? We can page through it right now from left to right, and we've got, like I said, the thumbnails. Again, all that metadata is here. But let's advance now and go back to that file manager and do a little bit more work. Okay, so I can start sort of spot checking. If I could read this material, I might notice, I could look at an image and I might notice that this page doesn't seem to belong here, right? So I could just do a quick drag drop, change the order, fine, not a problem. I can also go and start labeling, and that seems like a good idea at first, upper cover, paste down, whatever. But now I'm at the folios, right? This is foliated, it's hundreds of pages long. That's not really going to work, but we got this handy tool over here that allows us to select an image and then scroll down, select a range, shift click, so we've got all the images selected practically. We'll come back up here and I can say, okay, start with the number 1, label it F dot for folio, and I want to foliate, which means I need an additional label for the back or the front. Possibly. So use A for the front, B for the back, click apply, and now all of our labels are there, and we've just saved ourselves a bunch of typing. So now if you imagine you're a cataloger, you're going through and you're continuing to sort of spot check this thing, and you get down a little ways, and you start looking and, do my generated folio numbers match up with what I just did? And so we look at this one, and 35, that's good, 35A. 36, 36A, that's good. But now if we look at 37, oh, this one was skipped, right? It very lightly up there, it says 36 bis, and that's fine, we can correct it. 36 bis A, or whatever the correct label would be, 36 bis B. Fine, but now of course we have this problem that we're off by 1, right? So this is 37 and it's labeled 38. So it's probably obvious by now, but we can just select one and shift click again, select a range, go back to that labeler, say start with 37 this time, and apply again, and we have updated labels, and so this process would continue. Okay, I guess just for the sake of completeness, we finish out labeling here, and we'll call this the lower paste down and the lower cover. And there's a few other things we can set at this point, okay? We can set the viewing direction. Tom already showed you what's coming, but we can set the viewing direction to right to left. We can set this to be a page object. And also, just in case the language didn't come in correctly from the metadata, or there's something more specific, we can reset that and rerun the OCR. That's continuing to happen in the background as yet another process. So we'll save, and we'll go back. And now Universal Viewer loads with this Islamic manuscript, which is now properly reading from right to left and showing up 2 up because it's a paged object. And I think that's what we have here. Yep. And I'll just show one more feature on this Whirlwind tour, which is a little less mature than the rest of the application, but we can click this Add Structure button, which, so far we've been labeling this flat sequence of images. But this obviously has some other hierarchical logical structure. So let's select an image and shift click and just select a few more. This is totally made up structure, but just to illustrate the point. So I'll make this chapter 1, and I can collapse that, and now I've got chapter 1, and I can go and just do this again and create some more structure inside that, right? So this is chapter 2, drag it over, fine. I think I made a mistake here and made chapter 2, so we'll drag it back out, whoops. Anyway, again, this isn't the real structure of this object, but you get the point, right? We can create this sort of logical structure as long and as deep as we want. So now we'll go back again to that show view, universal viewer loads, and we've got this index tab that comes up with our sort of made up structure here, and it advances us to that spot in the book as you'd expect. Okay, and then to bring it all back to IIIF, then, if we change the URL here at the end and add /manifest, you'll see we've been actually making a manifest this whole time. So you see our login service, you see our sequence, you see we set this viewing hint to page, we set viewing direction to right to left, we created this sort of made up structure, our metadata value pairs are imported from our catalog, to be refreshed at any time. And I guess what I didn't say at the beginning is that this is part of a sort of 3-stage workflow. So it goes from imaging technician to cataloger to curator quality control. So once we passed quality control, this thing would be marked as complete back in the workflow system and ready for our system as well as any of yours that are IIIF compliant. So that's a whirlwind tour of PLUM. It's going to find its way into production this summer, and then a big migration follows. But that's where we are. So thank you very much.